back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for all right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Tuesday. We got a lot to talk about on today's show, as we normally do, but before we get into that, I just want to remind you guys to tip or donate and get your comments recognized to become part of the show. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that's a great way to make the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you, the viewer. Once again, the link is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And again, as always, it is displayed as well on the bottom with the ticker of the show segment. So, with that, let's get into what we are going to discuss today. As you could tell, I still am dealing with this cold. Definitely feel better than I did yesterday. Still a little congested, but we're going to continue to roll. Of course, like I said yesterday, the show must go on. So we got a lot to talk about today. We'll talk about the Bills and the Broncos game from last night. Broncos upsetting the Bills. So we'll get into that in a moment. Then in the second segment, we're going to talk about the Bills and the fact that they're in trouble. They are really in trouble because their playoff hopes are starting to slip away here as we move along here in the second half of the regular season. And then in the third part of the show, we're going to talk about the Browns and their comeback win against the Ravens. And then we'll get into Josh Dobbs and his performance with the Vikings, his first start with the Vikings as the Vikings continue to roll. They are now 6-4 on the season. So more stuff from Week 10 as well. Because like I said, there were so many things that happened, and I wanted to give a lot of these games their own individual segment, their moment to shine. So, so that's the rundown for the show. So let's get right into the first topic, which is discussing last night's game between the Broncos and the Bills. So these two teams coming in, Broncos 3-5 on the season coming in, Bills 5-4. The Bills obviously coming off of a loss against the Bengals, Broncos coming in off of a bye, and the previous week they upset the Chiefs in Denver. So, and I thought the Bills were going to win this game. I thought it was going to be an ugly win, and it looked like it was going to be that towards the end there, but that was not the case. The Broncos with the upset of the Bills. And right off the bat, the start of this game, Bills start off with the ball, okay? And right away, the first play from scrimmage, James Cook fumbles. Josh Allen throws a pass to him. It's caught. Goes towards the sideline. Ball gets ripped away from him, and the Broncos already are in good field position. And I'm like, oh, no, here we go again with the Bills. And the Broncos, their first drive with that, all they did was just run the football. But they did end up getting a field goal out of it. Will Lutz kicked the field goal. And that put them up 3-0 to start the game. So then the Bills get the ball back. They're driving, and you're like, okay, here we go. I mean, that was a little hiccup there for the Bills. Let's see what they could do here. And what ends up happening? Josh Allen throws an interception. And it was a fastball. It was deflected off of Gabe Davis, and Justin Simmons ended up picking it off. And, again, not the start the Bills wanted. Broncos did nothing with that. They punted. The Bills punted. The Broncos punted. So that's how the first quarter ended. Then the Bills punted a quick drive, 3 plays, 5 yards, was their drive, and the drive lasted 1 minute and 37 seconds. Broncos got the ball, and they went 7 plays, 52 yards in almost 4 minutes, and Russell Wilson connected with Courtland Sutton for the touchdown. And let me just say, on that play, it looked like he was throwing it away. The Broncos went for it on 4th down, and Russ just threw it up, and it looked like it was going out of bounds. Courtland Sutton made the catch, but they ruled him out, the refs. It was incomplete. But Sutton went to the refs, and he was like, I caught that. And they showed on the replay, I mean, both toes, he dragged them just enough that it counted as a touchdown. So that was a great play. That was like a classic Russell Wilson play. I mean, listen, everybody watching that thought that was incomplete and that he was just throwing it away. But Sutton came out of nowhere, made the catch, and Broncos went up 9-0. They ended up missing the extra point. So, yeah. Then the Bills, 8 plays, 81 yards, 3:41 time of possession. They went down the field. Josh Allen connected with rookie Dalton Kincaid for a 22-yard touchdown. There was a penalty on the extra point, so the Bills decided to go for it for the 2, and they ended up getting it. Josh Allen connected with Gabe Davis for the 2-point conversion there. So it's 9-8. 9-8 at that point. Then the Broncos went down the field, kicked the field goal to go up 12-8. Josh Allen, first play, another interception. Fabian Moreau picked that off. Broncos cashed in, kicked the field goal to go up 15-8 at the half. Then in the third quarter, the Broncos punted to start off. Bills turnover on downs, and then the Broncos fumbled. And this play annoyed me because Russell Wilson puts more mustard on that throw. I can't believe I just said that. But, yeah, he puts more air under that ball, and that's an easy first down for Courtland Sutton. And he ends up getting hit. The ball pops out. Bills recover. So they basically end up where they were, when they turned it over on downs on the previous drive. And because of that, the Bills capitalized. They went 7 plays, 54 yards, and they got their touchdown. Latavius Murray from 3 yards out. Broncos punted. Bills fumbled again. Josh Allen fumbled. It was a handoff to James Cook, I believe, and they just ended up not having a clean handoff there. And the ball ended up on the ground. Broncos recovered, but they punted on that. Then in the fourth quarter, Bills punted. Broncos get a touchdown. That was to Javonte Williams, which that actually made me lose one of my fantasy leagues by 0.65 because in my matchup I was going into this game I was up. I think I was up like 123 to like 96, like that. But with the point something to point something, whatever it was, and my opponent had Diggs and Javonte Williams. Now Diggs didn't really have a monster game yesterday, but he also had Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams actually had a good game, and because of that receiving touchdown, I ended up losing by 0.65. So if that was a rushing touchdown, I'd probably still win. So, and that was with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So, of course. And I started off 4-1 in that league. Now I'm 5-5. They went for, actually, no, they didn't go for 2. They botched the extra point snap. So, so the score ended up being 21-15. And then the Bills, 6 plays, 75 yards, go down the field. Josh Allen rushing touchdown from 6 yards out. And the Bills go up by a point. And then on the final drive of the game, the Broncos go 10 plays, 57 yards in just about 2 minutes to kick the game-winning field goal by Will Lutz. And that was helped by Russell Wilson throwing up a prayer to Jerry Jeudy. And Taron Johnson was there on the coverage. And, it hung up there for so long, and he was catching up to the ball, and he didn't turn around, and he, held on to Jeudy, and then it ended up being a pass interference. Broncos get into field goal range, and they ultimately win the game 24-22. And actually, I also forgot to mention, on the Bills' touchdown drive before that, James Cook had that long run for 42 yards, and it was funny, because he actually fumbled the ball and then picked it up and kept running. And he actually I thought he was going to score on that, but he ended up not. But, James Cook had a rough game. It looked like he was in the doghouse at one point. It was just a very sloppy game for the Bills. And they lose an ugly one, 24-22. And I just want to pull up the my graphic here because we're almost this show segment is almost done here. Yeah, so these are the stats for the two quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, 24-29, 193 193 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Josh Allen, 15 of 26, 177 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. They also had the fumble as well. James Cook fumbled. So the Bills turned the ball over 4 times in this game. I mean, it was messy from the beginning, and just it just was not good. It was not good. And Stephon Diggs really didn't do much in this game, like I said. For the Bills, James Cook ran the ball for 109 yards, but again, he had the fumble, which was costly in the beginning. Latavius Murray had 68 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Josh Allen had 13 yards and a touchdown. Ty Johnson actually also got a carry in this game. I didn't even know he was on the Bills. 1 carry for 2 yards. Gabe Davis was their leading receiver, 2 receptions for 56 yards. Dalton Kincaid had 5 receptions for 51 yards and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs had 3 for 34. Shakir had 1 for 24. And then on the Broncos side, Javonte Williams, 21 carries, 79 yards rushing. Russell Wilson carried the ball 9 times for 30 yards. Cortland Sutton, their leading receiver, 8 receptions, 53 yards. Again, that great touchdown grab. Jerry Jeudy had 3 for 35. Samandre Perine was involved in the passing game a little bit, 3 for 35. Russell Wilson had a couple of shuffle passes to him when he looked like he was about to get sacked. But yeah, threw to a lot of different receivers last night. But yeah, Broncos win 24-22. And, I mean, credit to Denver. This was a team that looked like they were going to have one of the worst records in the NFL. They started off the season 1-5. Their points per game, in terms of their defense, they were giving up an average of 33.3 points per game. Their turnover margin was -5. Their last 3 games, 3-0. They're giving up 16 points per game, and their turnover margin is +8 now. This is what the graphics ESPN posted last night. And then for the Bills, their season outlook right now, they got a 33, according to ESPN, 33% chance of making the playoffs, 14% to win the AFC East, and 2% to win the Super Bowl. But, I mean, we don't really have to talk about the Super Bowl. I don't really think they're going to win the Super Bowl even before this. But, yeah, and at their home stadium, they started off 4-0, 31 points per game, 3 turnovers, and then last night a loss. They scored 22 points, and they had 4 turnovers in total for the game. In the previous 4, they only had 3. So, yeah, I mean, not good for the Bills. Their playoff hopes are slipping away, and we're going to talk about that more in the next segment. But, I mean, credit to the Broncos. They're 4-5 now. They're kind of a part of that playoff conversation. I mean, I don't think they are going to make the playoffs. But, you saw some good things. Obviously, Russell Wilson's not lighting up the stat sheet, and one of the things they talked about is how they're just running the football more. Because I was frustrated in the beginning when you get that turnover, off of James Cook fumbling to start the game, and all you do is just run the football. They got points out of it, but but again, I didn't think the Broncos were going to win, and this is an offense that does tend to struggle to score points. So I was go for the kill shot. Get 7 or get 6, and then you get 7 with the extra point. But you know what? They won the game. Their defense has been playing really well. But I will say, I think a lot of this also had to do with the fact that the Bills were just sloppy. I mean, James Cook couldn't hold on to the football. I mean, on that huge run, like I said, he fumbled the ball. He was lucky he picked it up. Otherwise, the Broncos get that, and the Bills don't even go ahead at that point. But, I mean, they still lost the game. And Josh Allen just continues to turn the football over. And that is a problem. And, talking with my friends last night, Brett Favre is a great comparison to Josh Allen because he's a gunslinger. And you know what? That offense could click on a drive, but on another drive, he could turn the ball over. And that's exactly what happened last night. And if that continues to happen, I mean, the Bills, it's not looking good right now. And we're going to get into that more in the next segment because we got to talk about the Bills more because they're in trouble. They're in trouble as the segment says here. So that's a little tease for what we're going to talk about. We'll continue our discussion with the Bills when we come back from our first break of the show. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about, more about the Bills and the fact that they are in trouble. They really are. I think I did talk about it leading up to this game, but if the Bills did lose this game, the alarms should be going off. The sirens should be going off. And, yeah, they definitely should be now because you had a game at home against an offense that struggles to score points. This is a game you were supposed to win, and they played sloppy right off the bat. I mean, the first two drives of the game, turnovers, fumble by James Cook, interception by Josh Allen, and it's just weird because then the team could flip the switch on a drive and go down the field and score a touchdown, like the touchdown to Kincaid. They're just a very weird team right now. And there's a lot of things you could point at. I mean, it's the quarterback play, the play calling, the fact that Stephon Diggs really was really a non-factor last night. That's concerning because that's your number one playmaker on offense outside of Josh Allen. And you're supposed to get him the ball, and he wasn't a factor last night. And you could also point at the defense as well. I mean, they're dealing with injuries. It's just a lot of things right now. This team is flawed in a lot of different areas. And it's like, what are they going to do? But if this season spirals out of control, there definitely needs to be changes. And you could also look at Stephon Diggs as maybe being a guy that says, I don't want to be here anymore. Their window, it looks like it's closing. Earlier in the season, it looked like, hey, the Bills look really good after they had that blowout win against the Dolphins, and then since then, it's been a downward spiral. They have not played great. Everybody talked about how, when they went to London to play the Jags, that just was, a bad spot to be in because the Jags were already there. They got there on Friday, whatever it was. But at the end of the day, I mean, they have not played great in quite some time. Even the win against the Bucs and the Giants, they scored 14 points in the fourth quarter against the Giants. They were losing that whole time. And the Bucs, they let the Bucs come back into the game. The Bills still had control of that, but again, it came down to a Hail Mary that could have been caught, and you could have lost that game. So they got a lot of issues right now, and I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't know what they can do. And the scary thing is, you look at their schedule coming up, where are the wins coming from? It's not good. They play the Jets next week at home. That game they should win. If you don't beat the Jets, who can't score either, who are probably a worse, who are they're not good on offense either. I mean, they're even worse than the Broncos. If you can't beat the Jets, then I don't know what to say. I mean, they already lost to the Jets this year, but you're at home. You've lost 2 straight. You got to win that game. But then after that, at Philadelphia, bye week, at Kansas City, home against Dallas, at the Chargers who scored a lot of points. You're home against the Patriots who already beat you. Then you're at the Dolphins. A lot of tough games on that schedule. A lot of tough games on that schedule. And you're 5-5. You're second in the AFC East. It's not good. I mean, you're still... now you're a game and a half back of the Dolphins. But, yeah, it's not good. The turnovers are killing them. The turnovers is really what's killing this team. But I don't know. I don't know I don't know what they can do. And especially when you have this tough schedule coming up. I mean, you might be on the outside looking in this year of the playoffs. This team should be in the playoffs. They have so much talent on this team. But ultimately, it's going to come down to you can't turn the ball over. And they keep doing that. Their quarterback keeps doing that. And it's a problem. It's a problem. And since Brian Dable left, he has regressed. Because a couple years ago, you looked at Josh Allen and you said, this guy is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's right up there with Mahomes. And now he's further down on the list. Now, listen, he's somebody I would love to have on the Giants. I would take him. I mean, although I'd be frustrated with the turnovers, but I mean, who wouldn't want Josh Allen? But yeah, it's not good. And like I said, you got all those games coming up against, Super Bowl contenders. I mean, the Eagles are, the Chiefs are. You got Dallas who's going to be tough coming in. I mean, not good. It's not good for the Bills. I think they should beat the Jets next week, but again, it's the Jets, and the Jets look like they're collapsing. If you even want to call it that. I don't have any confidence in the Jets anymore after what I've seen the last couple of weeks. Their offense is just... I mean, listen, you talk about... The Broncos have struggled to score points this year, but you have more confidence in them offensively than you do the Jets at this moment in time. But, I mean, I'm just at a loss at what's going on. I mean, there definitely should be major changes. If this season continues to spiral out of control, you really got to think that that's going to be the case, because they just don't look like a good team right now. And I mean, the penalty at the end, I mean, if that doesn't happen, I mean, that could have been a touchdown also, to Judy, but all you got to do is just not commit that penalty too, and maybe you have a different conversation. Because I thought the Bills at that point were going to win when they went down the field at the end and scored the touchdown to go up by 1. And they actually missed the extra point to only go up by 1, right? I think that's what happened. Yeah, I mean, it's not good. It really just is not good with what's going on over there right now. I mean, I'm at a loss, because this team is so talented, and this is a team that people look at as like a Super Bowl contender. And yeah, right now it's not good. It's not good. So, oh yeah, the Bills didn't miss the extra point on that. I don't know why I thought that. I thought they did, for some reason. But yeah, I mean, but Will Lutz missed an extra point last night. Yeah, it's really gonna be interesting to see what happens. Because if this, I mean, how many wins is this team gonna have? Are they gonna win like 8 games this year? Has it really gotten to that point? I mean, you're going to Philly. That is going to be a really tough game. Then at Kansas City, I mean, listen, they play the Chiefs tough, but the Chiefs' defense has been good this year. And then when you got an offense that's turning the ball over a lot, that team's going to capitalize on that. It's not looking good right now for the Bills. Like if you beat the Jets, and then maybe you somehow pull off the upset against Philly, you go into your bye week, try to figure out some things. I mean, they're probably, in all likelihood, going into the bye at 6-6. And you wouldn't have expected that. You would not have expected that at the start of the season. But that's what it's come to. That is what it's come to. And I really don't know what else to say. I really don't know what else to say. But listen, they still got a chance at the playoffs. I will say, but like I said, they are in trouble and their playoff hopes are slipping. And I told you, and I said in the last segment, what their, the numbers were according to ESPN. It's not great. Their chances of making the playoffs are not great. And on top of that, you got so many teams you got to leapfrog. I mean, look at like the Texans. It doesn't seem like they're going away. It looks like you might be battling now with the Bengals, who already beat you. There's a lot of teams that are fighting for those wild card spots. You got the Colts at 5-5, the Raiders at 5-5, although you already beat the Raiders this year. Chargers are 4-5. You play them again. The Jets are 4-5. You play them again. You just lost to the Broncos, who are on a 3-game winning streak. A lot of teams are in it. So they got a lot of work they got to do, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. I think that right now, if you were to ask me, if they actually, okay, I am just checking my sports group chat, and it appears that Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator of the Bills, has been fired. So I'm just going to see if I can confirm that. Yep, as of 7 minutes ago, Adam Schefter reporting Bills fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. So there you go. We got some live breaking news. There we go. All right. I don't think that's ever happened. So yeah, Ken Dorsey. Well, I mean, obviously, you probably saw it already. I'm seeing it just now because I haven't really, I just happened to check my phone. So yeah, I guess that's a step in the right direction then. So we'll see what the Bills do with that and how they look next week. I don't know. We'll see. But again, you're still in trouble. And let's see, what you got a lot of season left, but you got a lot of tough games. And you know what? I'm not going to say they have no shot to beat Philly because they definitely do. They got a shot to beat Kansas City because they give Kansas City a tough time. They do. They beat them in the regular season last year. A couple years ago, they went back and forth in the playoffs. They beat them in the regular season that year too. So, we'll see. But yeah, right now not good for the Bills. But hey, fired your offensive coordinator, so that maybe is a step in the right direction. So again, I just want to remind you guys before we go into our second break of the show. Again, I just want to remind you to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that's a great way for the show to become more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Once again, the link is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment. So with that, we are going to take our second break of the show. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about the Browns, a team that's 6-3 in a wild card spot, has some higher aspirations after their comeback win against the Ravens. So we'll get into that Another great game from Sunday. We'll get into that when we come back from our second break of the show. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are going to discuss the Browns' comeback win versus the Ravens on Sunday. Another great game from Sunday. I did have the Ravens in the spread pool. They were giving the Browns 6.5. And listen, it did look good. It did look good for a while. But then the Browns, they just slowly kept on, chipping away at that lead. Lamar Jackson throws a pass that gets tipped up in the air and is intercepted by, I believe, Greg Newsome for the pick six, tied the game. And the Browns ultimately won the game on a Dustin Hopkins game-winning field goal. And, that was a big win for the Browns. And listen, this is a team that has gone into Baltimore and beaten the Ravens. They did it back in... Was it 2021 they went in and did that? I believe so. But yeah, I mean, going in, the Ravens looked like they were one of the best teams in football, and they still are. Obviously, they were coming off of a 37-3 win over the Seahawks. And the Browns, their defense has been very good this year. Deshaun Watson, though, hasn't been great. He has, on the season, 7 touchdowns and 4 picks. And he's missed a few games. But, they started off the game with a pick six. Literally, the second play of the game was a pick six. Deshaun Watson, threw a pick to Kyle Hamilton, and he took it to the house. So already the Browns are down to start the game. Then the Browns punted. Ravens went down the field to go up 14-0. Browns answered with a field goal. Ravens kicked a field goal. So it was 17-3 after the first quarter. And then the rest of the way, the Browns outscored the Ravens 30-14. 30-14. In the second quarter, the Browns kicked a field goal. Ravens had a field goal that was blocked, which led to another field goal by the Browns. Then Lamar Jackson threw a pick. Browns turned it over on downs. So the score at the half was 17-9. Then the Ravens scored a field goal, a touchdown, to start the second half, to make it 24-9. Lamar Jackson connected with Odell Beckham Jr. On a slant route, I believe, for 40 yards. And Odell took it to the house. So that was a classic OBJ play. So it was 24-9. Then the Browns answered with a touchdown of their own, and that drive went for 17. That went 17 plays, 75 yards, 10 minutes. Time of possession. Kareem Hunt, 3-yard touchdown run. Then the Browns got the 2-point conversion. Deshaun Watson ran that in. Ravens punted. Then in the fourth quarter, Ravens scored a touchdown. They went 7 plays, 12 yards. And that ended with a Gus Edwards 1-yard touchdown. So that put them up 2 scores. And I thought at that point, the Ravens, I think they should hold on to this game, right? Browns then answered with a touchdown of their own. Deshaun Watson connected with Elijah Moore for his first Browns touchdown, I believe, to make it 31-24. And then Lamar Jackson throws a pick six to Greg Newsome. And the Browns actually missed the extra point. So they were down 1. Ravens punted on their next drive. 6 plays, 16 yards, almost 3.5 minutes of time of possession. Browns then went on the final 5 minutes just about of the game, went 12 plays, 58 yards, got into field goal range, and Dustin Hopkins connected with a 40-yard field goal to win the game, and the Browns win 33-31. Lamar Jackson in this game, 2 interceptions. They were very costly in this game. The Ravens, they sometimes have a problem with turnovers and on the offensive side of the ball, and that was the case. Lamar Jackson went 13-23, 223 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. He was actually their leading rusher. Ravens only ran the ball for 106 yards. Lamar had 41 yards on the ground. Keaton Mitchell, the rookie, 34 yards. Gus Edwards, 24. They both had rushing touchdowns in this game. And then Zay Flowers was their leading receiver, 5 receptions, 73 yards. Odell Beckham Jr. only had 1 reception, but it was the 40-yard touchdown that he had. Mark Andrews had 2 receptions for 44 yards. But, yeah, it was a sloppy game for the Ravens. They allowed the Browns to come back in to the game. Browns capitalized on those turnovers, and they won the game. And Deshaun Watson didn't have his best game. 20 of 34, 213 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Jerome Ford had 107 yards on the ground. Watson had 37. Kareem Hunt had 32 with a touchdown. Amari Cooper, 6 receptions for 98 yards. David Njoku had 6 for 58. Elijah Moore, 5 for 44 and a touchdown. But yeah, that was a big win for the Browns. That gets them to 6-3. They're now a game back in the division. With the AFC North right now, you got the Ravens at 7-3. The Steelers and the Browns are both a half game back, and the Bengals 5-4 in last place. And it sets up for a monster game on Thursday because now you got both teams coming off of a loss. The Ravens losing and the Bengals losing, and it's going to be a tough game for both teams. The Bengals are once again, it looks like they're going to be without T. Higgins again on offense, which is a huge loss. And the Ravens, this is what I'm talking about. They're inconsistent. They have games where they are just, you're like, what happened? And this game I think falls on Lamar Jackson. The pick six. The offense just really couldn't get anything going after, scoring 17 points in the first quarter. Like I said, after that, you got outscored 30-14. That's not good enough. So, again, and I remember, a couple weeks ago, I had that debate, with the Ravens fans, talking about, me kind of disrespecting them. But this is what I mean. They still are a team that they look so good, and then there are times they just look bad. And, they were inconsistent in the game. They looked like they were going to destroy the Browns, but they let the Browns hang around. Pick six. And they lost the game. And now the Browns, they find themselves one game back of first place. And this is with your quarterback not playing great. And Deshaun Watson actually had to lead the game at one point. P.J. Walker came in. And it was funny because I was like, oh no, now the Browns actually kind of have a better shot of winning this game. But the Browns are a good team. They are definitely a good team. It's just, for me personally, ultimately, I think with how Deshaun Watson has played this year, if he doesn't, play up to how he has played in the past, I don't really think this team is going to go that far this year. How they are going to is going to be off the back of their defense. And they have a good running game. Even without Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt and Jerome Ford have done a nice job. Obviously, Amari Cooper's had a good year. Elijah Moore catching that touchdown, that was big. They traded Donovan Peoples-Jones to the Lions. You got Elijah Moore, taking a step up now. And you also have Tillman, the rookie. Njoku is a good tight end. So they have weapons. They do have a good team. I just think right now, with how Deshaun Watson has played, that is ultimately what is going to hold this team back. But as for the Ravens, like the Bills yesterday, the Ravens kind of beat themselves in this game. You had a 14-point lead after the first quarter, and you let the other team come back. That's inexcusable. That's inexcusable. And now you got a tough game against the Bengals, who are also coming in after a loss. That is a big game for both teams. A huge game. And finally, we're going to have a good Thursday night matchup. And we'll see how it goes. But, the Ravens beat themselves. Lamar Jackson has to be blamed because, again, turning the ball over, that's been an issue for him. That has definitely been an issue for Lamar. And they got to figure it out. But, I'm not going to hit the panic button with the Ravens. If this team is healthy, if Lamar is healthy, this team is going to make the playoffs. This team's going to make the playoffs. They're, and right now they are, first place in the division. But they gotta be careful because you got the Steelers and the Browns right behind you. Actually, you got every AFC North team playing each other this week. You got the Bengals and the Ravens playing each other on Thursday, and then you got the Browns and the Steelers playing each other on Sunday in Cleveland. And that's a big game for both teams. Let me just say, this year has been a lot of fun though. Like, you look at how congested that wild card is this year in the AFC. It's unbelievable. And this division, the AFC North, it's unbelievable. Every team is over 500. It's gonna be a dogfight. It's gonna be a dogfight in the dog pound on Sunday. See what I did there? Between the Steelers and the Browns. So, and right now I kind of lean towards Cleveland because the Steelers, listen, both offenses are not very good. But I'd take the Browns offense over the Steelers right now. I just would. As much as I don't trust both offense, the Steelers already beat them this year. But I think now that you're in Cleveland, I think the Browns, they get the split here. Right now I think they're 4-point favorites. But we'll see. Listen, the Steelers, when people count them out, they play well. And it's crazy how they're 6-3. Because you would say, like, oh, there's no way. But they are. They're 6-3 as well. The Browns, let's see what they could do. If you could get better play out of Deshaun Watson and he could stay healthy, this team could beat anybody. But right now, I feel like that is what's going to ultimately hold them back. And that's something Browns fans probably don't want to hear because he was the guy they brought in because he was supposed to take them to the next level. And I don't think he's doing that. He's not doing that. It's your defense that's taking you to the next level. So, big game on Sunday against the Steelers. Ravens, let's see if they can get back on the right track against the Bengals on Thursday, which is going to be a very tough game for both teams. So, we'll see how it goes. But with that, we are going to take our final break of the show. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about Josh Dobbs as him and the Vikings continue to roll. Dobbs winning his first start as a Viking after his, getting thrown into the fire immediately against Atlanta last week and leading the Vikings to a win. The Vikings just dominated this game against the Saints, although the Saints did make it interesting towards the end, but Vikings were able to come out with a win. So when we come back from our final break of the show, we will discuss that game and Josh Dobbs' performance as well. So stick around, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're going to talk about Josh Dobbs and having another good performance in his first start with the Vikings. Now, Vikings getting the win over the Saints, 27-19. Vikings were actually dominating this game. They were up 24-3 at the half. And Derek Carr actually got hurt in this game. I believe it was with I think it was a shoulder injury, but also I think a concussion as well. So he's dealing with two different things. So Jameis Winston came into the game, threw 2 picks, which was expected. I don't think they were. Both of them really were his fault. I think one of them was just like a heave towards the end, and then I didn't really watch like the highlights of the game. The other one also was like tipped. But let's talk about Josh Dobbs first. So he finished the game going 23-34, 268 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. He had 44 rushing yards on the ground. He had a rushing touchdown in this game. Ty Chandler actually was their leading rusher because Alexander Madison left the game with a concussion. So we'll see what his status is. Next week as the Vikings now play the Broncos. TJ Hawkinson had a monster game, but he also is dealing with an injury. 11 receptions, 134 yards, and a touchdown. Jordan Addison had 4 for 69. But yeah, I mean, the Vikings, they dominated this game. And like I said, the Saints made a late run at it towards the end. Because Jameis Winston came in. I know, like I said, he threw 2 picks. He went 13-25, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Alvin Kamara had 42 rushing yards on the ground. He was their leading rusher. They really only ran the ball for 65 yards. Chris Olave had a great touchdown catch in this game, 6 receptions for 94 yards. A.T. Perry, 2 receptions for 38 yards. Alvin Kamara, 7 for 33. Rashid Shaheed, 5 for 24. Taysom Hill at 2 for 17. Michael Thomas, he has supposedly, according to Dennis Allen, he has a significant knee injury. He left this game, so who knows what's going to happen with him. Michael Thomas is just somebody that just can't stay on the field, and you hope that that's not the case. But his season could be over, it seems, which is unfortunate because he was decent for the Saints this year. He played in pretty much every game. Right, or actually, I think he might have missed. Did he miss any games this year? Yeah, he did. But so now it seems like he's gonna miss, maybe the rest of the year. But the Saints now dropped to 5-5. But give Jameis credit. He came in, almost brought him back, but couldn't get the job done. But Josh Dobbs, man, he continues to roll. And now the Vikings are going to be getting Justin Jefferson back, it seems, this week, which is huge. And listen, they're 6-4 right now. I think this team is going to make the wild card. I think they should. Because you look at their schedule coming up. You got the Broncos, which, it's going to be a tough game because the Broncos have been playing better. Then you're home against the Bears, bye week, at the Raiders, which is, again, going to be tough because the Raiders have been playing better. But I think they should win. Then you're at the Bengals, which is going to be tough. Home against the Lions, home against the Packers, and then at Lions. So I'm going to say, let's see. I'm going to say 9 wins gets you into the playoffs. I'm going to say they get to 9 wins and they make the playoffs. Because then you look at the wild card, and right now they're in that they're in the third wild card spot. You got the Bucks who are 4-5, Commanders are 4-6, Falcons are 4-6, Packers are 3-6, Rams are 3-6. You think any of those teams are going to pass the Vikings? Commanders, their offense puts up a lot of points, but they keep losing these tough games. They lost another, tough game against the Seahawks, a last-second field goal. The Bucks are 4-5. They play the Niners this week, so that's going to be a loss. Vikings win, you get to 7-4. And these other teams lose again. You're again separating yourself even more. So, I like where the Vikings are at right now as a team. And you're getting Justin Jefferson back. And again, you got some other players that are banged up. But Listen, they look good. They look good. Now, but again, I don't expect them to go very far in the playoffs. I think what Josh Dobbs has been able to do has been, I mean, it's been a great story. And it's funny how, he talked about what happened at the trade deadline, how, his head coach told him, Gannon told him, you're not getting traded. And then all of a sudden, it was like, oh, yeah, his agent was telling him, yeah, you're seems like you're most likely going to get traded. And then it's like you're getting traded to Minnesota. Gets traded to Minnesota. Then he doesn't start. Jaron Hall gets to start. He gets hurt against the Falcons. Dobbs gets thrown into the fire. He gets sacked for his safety, and I'm like, this is a tough spot for him to get put in. The Vikings, I think, might lose this game. And then then all of a sudden, he played great, and they won the game. And then you play great again. And for me, I keep picking the Saints in the spread pool, and they keep letting me down. I don't know why I keep doing that. I got to stop doing it. Because believe me, I wanted to pick the Vikings, but I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take the Saints. I'm going to take the Saints because I don't know. I was like, Josh Dobbs' first game, but I mean, the Saints are not a good team. They're not. But the Vikings, I mean, Josh Dobbs now with the weapons that he has, and you're getting Justin Jefferson back. Yeah, I mean, this team I think should make the playoffs. I think they get that last wild card. I think for like the NFC South teams, your best way of getting into the playoffs is winning your division. So like for the Falcons and the Bucks, that's going to be your path to the postseason, is winning your division. And again, no idea what's going to happen with that division because it's a mess. I mean, it's going to take it might take 8 wins to get into the playoffs again. So, but yeah, I mean, and the thing that's unfortunate is you look at the Vikings and, their running game, it hasn't been good this year. I mean, Cam Akers tearing his Achilles again. Alexander Mattison hasn't been great. Now he's hurt, so now Ty Chandler looks like he might be the lead back going forward. And you wonder, Dalvin Cook, how do you feel now? Because you went to the Jets, and you're barely getting any touches, and when you do get them, you don't really do anything with them. You thought you were going to be playing with Aaron Rodgers. He tore his Achilles. Maybe you should have stayed in Minnesota. And I think they both miss each other, if I'm going to be honest. Because, you put Dalvin Cook back on the Vikings. Listen, I'm not one of those people that thinks Dalvin Cook is cooked. I just think right now, where the offense that he's in, I just feel like he can't really get into a rhythm. Now, yeah, he is getting older and he's taken a lot of punishment over the years. He's a guy that's been hurt. He tore his ACL his rookie season. He's been banged up a lot. But he was good last year. I find it hard to believe that he fell off a cliff that fast. So, maybe he should have stayed in Minnesota. And the Vikings would have been even better. But now you got Josh Dobbs playing quarterback, and Josh Dobbs can run the football. Had another rushing touchdown. And I said that. I said that adds a new dimension to your offense that you didn't have. You got a mobile quarterback. Now, that's no disrespect to Kirk Cousins, because Kirk Cousins was having an MVP season before he got hurt. But now you got Josh Dobbs who can move around a little bit. And now you put him on a better team because the Cardinals, let's face it, they didn't really have that many playmakers on their team. I mean, James Conner was hurt, so your running game, you were basically the top rusher at that point. Zach Ertz got hurt, but, McBride's a good tight end. I mean, he had another good game on Sunday with Kyler being back. And that's another thing we'll get to. Kyler Murray returning. We'll get into that. We'll talk about that tomorrow because that was nice to see Kyler Murray back, after missing all that time recovering from the torn ACL. But, Josh Dobbs, this is great for him. He's in a playoff race now. He's on a team with a lot of playmakers. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Now this is without Justin Jefferson. Now you're getting Justin Jefferson back. The Vikings went on this winning streak without Justin Jefferson. Now they're getting him back. So it's only going to get better for them. But like I said, you got to hope that, Hawkinson, he's able to play next week. And Madison, hopefully, the concussion, he rebounds from that and he's able to play. Because you know what, this game on Sunday against the Broncos is going to be tough. It is going to be a tough game. Because you know what, the Broncos are playing better. Their defense is playing better. So yeah, it is not going to be easy. But right now, I think this team should get that final wild card spot. I think so. But after that, I don't really know what they do. But you got to give them credit because, Jefferson gets hurt, gets put on IR, and you're thinking, there we go. This is really the end. But then the Vikings just started stacking up wins. Then Kirk Cousins gets hurt, and you're like, well, there goes that. And they said, you know what? We're still going for this thing. And they trade for Josh Dobbs for a late-round pick. And they got themselves the final wild card spot. And they keep rolling. So, I mean, like I said, I think this team, right now, I would say they get to 9 wins, and I think they get in. I don't really trust any of the other teams to get that spot. But again, anything's possible. But right now, you got to like what the Vikings are doing. You got to like what Josh Dobbs is doing. And now you're getting your best player back. It's only up from here. So, we'll have to see what happens. But let me know what you guys think about that. About Josh Dobbs and how he's been with the Vikings so far. Because he's looked good. He has looked good. And again, this is a guy that's bounced around a lot. He's been on a lot of different teams. Now he finally got a shot this year, and he's made the most of it. He really has. So, congrats to the Vikings on getting another win. And let's see what they do this upcoming week against the Broncos. And we'll definitely preview that, on Friday when we do the picks. As for the Saints, I mean, hasn't been good for them. I mean, they still got a chance to make the playoffs, of course, within their division. But, again, I really have no idea who's winning the NFC South. No idea. I really have no idea. Because the Falcons lost again. Now the Bucks won, so they're 4-5. I don't know. Panthers keep losing. So they could have. See, that's what's unfortunate for the Panthers. Like you keep winning, or not keep winning, but if you got some wins, and suddenly you're in the conversation, but they just can't win. They only got one win on the season against C.J. Stroud, who just beat the Bengals. That's how weird the season has been. Really, the Vikings, they beat the 49ers. The 49ers lose to the Browns, but the Colts beat the Browns, and it's just it's a weird year. It really is. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the show today. I thank you guys for tuning in, of course. I'll be working on getting yesterday's show reposted. So make sure to look out for that in case you missed anything from yesterday. The full live stream is up, but if you don't want to have to jump around through the stream, I'll have all the 4 segments posted. Look out for all the shorts that'll come out throughout the day between myself and the other shorts that come out as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That is all the time that we have for today. Once again, I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. Once again, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll continue our discussion of some of the games from Week 10. We'll probably go over the power rankings as well at some point during the week as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So until next time, I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.